Alright, I'm gonna just YOLO this, no notes, see how it goes. Basically, this is an attempt to communicate some upcoming changes that we'd like to make, maybe, if people agree with them. Bear with, this will be a lengthy yap. I'm going to start off by giving a bunch of history before we get to the changes. If you guys just want to jump straight to the changes, I'll drop a timestamp at some point somewhere. Yeah, okay. So this is all about Axie Score, voting power, how things have gone in the past, and some fun things to go with that. So to start off, voting power and Axie Score and stuff was all introduced relatively early on. Barna very wisely put this this voting cap thing into the Constitution. It was based on the Fit 21 legislation that was being pushed in the USA. And basically it was an attempt to get ahead of issues that may crop up with that in future. Great stuff. We needed it. It was pretty obvious. Also, with regards to Axie Score, the original addition and implementation of this was a little bit rushed for one of the very, very early votes. We just wanted something on paper so that there was a how do you put it, a precedent that that Axie Score was a modulation tool on the staked AXS, which is, of course, the base voting unit, right? One AXS gives you one vote, theoretically, in how this goes, and Axie Score was to be like a modulation tool on top of that. So the thing that I've always touted is staked AXS times Axie Score equals your voting power. Of course, it gets a little bit more into the weeds. That's not how it was actually ever implemented, those two numbers directly multiplied together, because that'd be stupid and it would break stuff. And we'll go over some breakages that have happened along the way. So here's from an early snapshot. I don't remember exactly which one this was. Basically we have the AXS score and the stake balance. So this is your actual amount of staked AXS, and this is the quadratically reduced version. It's the square root to 1.5 of your staked amount, something like that. We'll get to it later. And then there's your pillars, your Axie Score pillars, and those added together give your total Axie Score. That's the very rough oversight of how this goes. Now, we went through a few iterations of it. As you can see, the date jump on this versus the previous one, and some number changes. Basically, we went through a few iterations of this with some variations when we changed the methods. And here's an old sheet where we were highlighting some outliers, right? There's a couple of wallets that have massively outsized, and even these ones, right? These are the people who are going to be affected by that 10% cap that's in the Constitution. I don't remember what this is. Oh, this is just sorted. So these are the top four. And then we got into some methods for let's input some numbers and make a nice sheet so that we can test stuff and make it look all easy to understand for people. Ultimately, this doesn't really see the light of day. This is something that we kind of use to kind of test stuff behind the scenes, but most people won't have seen this, won't have played with this, because it's a lot of mess to try and explain this to people, and how each little bit works, and how it got iterated on into the future. This is a really old version. Please ignore. I know it says April 2025, but it's actually older. It got cleaned up a bit. And then we get into a more detailed snapshot. So this is, we'll just take Coco's for example. This is Coco's at the time, his stake to excess and the quadratically reduced, so this is the number that actually gets used. And then this is like every single individual badge, basically. And then you get to the end and you can see this is his total Axie score, and then the voting power of like all of the wallets. And again, you can see these are e to the power of 9, so it's a fucking massive number. And then there's a bunch of 8s, which are also massive numbers, and then there's 7s after that, which, you know, when you're working at these scales become functionally irrelevant, right? So this is, yeah, another iteration, another snapshot at some point. And this is some actual data of people who voted. I don't remember which vote this was for, but people who actually voted and has recently interacted with their wallets. Some of this, obviously, you can figure out. You can figure out all of this yourself. This is all blockchain information, and you have to have the snapshot, of course. But there's a couple of key points here, right? So there's the AIP 002. So this is the actual weights that people had when they voted. And then here's the adjusted version. So this is with the 10% cap, right? So you take 10% of the Axie score and then you hard cap people at that, which actually gives them proportionate to everything. This gives them higher than higher than that 10% cap in like effective voting power, right? Proportional to everybody else. And this is what was used in, or supposed to be used in, one of the later votes. I'm not sure if it was or wasn't. I don't remember how it all went. But anyway, then we jump forward a bit in time. We get to Mud's votes, his response to what happened after one of the votes. And these are a series of tweets. They're kind of interesting to read. I think I even responded to this at the time. I forget exactly how that all went down, but basically he says he wants to see the removing of the voting cap, so that 10% cap, he wants it to be gone, and add a clarification, and there's a couple of other like odds and ends here, but basically this would hand the keys to the castle to whoever has the most stake to excess and the most Axie score. Ironically, he doesn't actually have a huge amount of either of those. I say that he has a huge amount of Axie score, but it's not like it's how do I put this? It's not like it is significantly like outclassing some other participants in the ecosystem. If I remember right, he has like 600k, and a bunch of people have like 500, 600, 700 K Axie score. I think Coco has like 3 million or 3.8 million Axie score. So anyway, so this was a tweet thing, and then we saw a bunch of changes that the Axie score committee did to to tweak stuff and to iterate on the Axie score and make it better and add some badges and all that gaff. It's long to crop that out. Long story short, at some point we got this voting power insight set thing. So basically, I don't remember exactly when this is from, but this is the old version, right? So this is they called it the land nerf update, which feels rather ham-fisted because it didn't actually change that much. Coco going from 27 billion, is that billion? Yeah, billion. To 30.9 billion, Mo drops from 18 to, where is he, to 14, which, is something, but it's not huge. And Jiho from 12 to 15, almost 16, right? And basically the point of this sheet was just to see like, oh, what if Coco votes against? It still passes. What if Coco and Mud vote against? Okay, then it fails. What if Coco and Jiho vote against? Then it fails. So basically what you're seeing is, and obviously this doesn't have everybody, so this isn't a perfect example, of course, but basically you have 2 or 3 people or a coalition of maybe like 5 or 6 people could dominate functionally whatever vote they wished, right? And this is where we get into this thing of like Axie Score and voting power, and they seem really, really tied together. And that's great in some ways, right? Like we wanted them to be tied together. We wanted Axie Score to be that modulation tool. We wanted it to be that break on massive staked AXS amounts. So basically, we started experimenting with curves just to be like, okay, how about we put a little bit of a curve on Axie Score, right? So there's some iterations of curves, and we tried a bunch of stuff. Yes, please leave site. And we applied them to Axie Score as a whole, right? Just to see what would happen. Also, this quadratic reduction is wrong. Forget about it. It doesn't matter. This is V1 of the calculator, V2 of the calculator, V3 of the calculator. You can pause if you want to see like the things on those. I don't care. But basically, this is the V4 of the calculator, and then you a bunch of stuff is unticked here as well, so it's not the same across the board. So then we go into the three variations. So if you apply a curve, this is a generous curve, and this is a slightly harsher curve, and this is a very harsh curve, right? And you have the same boxes ticked across all three of those, right? Is it? I'm not sure now. Anyway, the point is, we were just testing some various things and looking at how those curves would affect the voting power if you did that. And we weren't really happy with it. It didn't feel quite right. Yeah, this kind of happened like in between. These are staked AXS balances. I asked Max, huge shout out to Max. He's an absolute G, always very generous with his time. I asked him back in mid 2025 if he could scrape the staked amounts and the unclaimed rewards, right? Because you can, apparently, I didn't know this, you could get the unclaimed rewards amounts. So Sky Mavis has 12 mil staked, and they have 11, probably closer to 12 mil in unclaimed rewards now. And I believe Bob is also one of their accounts. Like it's one of the multi-sig signers. I'm not sure on that. Somebody from Sky Mavis can clarify that if they really care. It doesn't really matter ultimately. And then I asked him a couple of months ago to make another snapshot because, you know, I wanted fresher data to do some of the fiddling that I wanted to try. So yeah, very, very little's actually changed from before and after. You can probably spot some differences, but they're all minor. So we tested some more curves, and they're, you know, comparable to the previous set of curves that you saw. You can look at them more closely at some point if you really want to, but they're all irrelevant because we get to this, we test a fuck ton of numbers, a fuck ton of curves, sorted by voting power. Again, testing. There's been like 6 versions of this sheet, by the way. And then a test curve, which I added. I wanted to see what would happen if you applied a harsher curve, to be clear, but a harsher curve to each pillar of the Axie Score, as well as staked AXS. And again, went through a few variations of this. This is all the different variations. So you can like all of this. This is current Axie Score, and these vertical lines. I don't remember what the 4.8 mil was, but the 24 mil is the total amount of staked AXS and, you know, unclaimed rewards. So assuming that they stake those as well, that'd be 24 mil. And 50 mil is a rough estimate of how much they control, including the what's the word? The ecosystem fund and the play to earn fund, because in the AXS white paper it says that they can use those funds to vote with. Again, I don't apply, like, I'm not saying that Sky Mavis is going to maliciously like vote in some way, or that Mud would do that either. Like, I'm just saying these are outliers. These are significant outliers, and ultimately we get to this endpoint. This is the kind of quote unquote final version that I personally am fairly happy with. I've asked around. Most of the town builders are okay with this too, and some of the Axie Score committee seem pretty pleased with this as well. Jiho likes it, Shade likes it. So that's all nice and good. But the real question is, does the rest of the community like it? So basically, yeah, again, we have a specific curve that is applied to each Axie Score pillar, so that not one specific Axie Score pillar can get out of whack. It doesn't matter if you know, in future there's a badge for like YouTube subscribers and Mr. Beast buys like 1 AXS and has like 1 billion Axie Score, right? It doesn't matter. It's not going to break stuff. Like here actually there's a version 2. If you just said that like this person has 50 million AXS, which is again the total theoretical controlled AXS by Sky Mavis, and you gave them 32 million Axie Score, right? So that's like 9x Coco's current holdings, right? So an absurd amount. Under the old version, they would have 99.69% of the vote, nice. And under the new version, they would have 27% of the vote, 27.5. So basically, the entire point of this is it stands up to extreme outliers, while still giving the average user a relatively quote-unquote normal experience. Here's the actual curves. If people want to have a comparison line, the blue line is the current reduction on Axie staked AXS. Sorry, I almost misspoke. Staked AXS gets pretty harshly brought down, and this curve is the proposed change to both staked AXS and each individual Axie Score pillar. This vertical line is 1 million. So for 1 million staked AXS, under the old system, you would have been brought down to 31,600. And under the new one, you get up to 66,000. So it's just over double. And this is for people like Masamune and Jiho, who actually have like straight up 1 million AXS staked, right? And on the low end, right, this I think is kind of the key thing. If you have like 1,000 AXS staked right now, you're getting reduced down to 177. And under the new version, you would be roughly at 1,000, right? You're losing what's that, like 3%? Yeah. So basically that's the proposed change that I think would end up balancing everything out very nicely. And obviously this gets harsher as you go up. It doesn't really matter, but it crosses over with the old curve at some point. Anyway, so going back to this fun little tweet, we could actually unironically do this. We could remove the voting power cap if we added this new formula. And I think that the key thing that we could do is actually just take that formula and put it in the Constitution instead of the 10% cap. That way it would take a majority vote to change it, right? Which is great, because it means that you can't easily break the system. Yeah, that's more or less it. Also, for this last point, we can't, there's no way to force people to vote, which, it'd be nice if more people voted, but the simple truth is participation has dropped over time. C'est la vie. So basically, this was the objective: make the voting power unbreakable, regardless of massive staked AXS or massive Axie Score acquisition. So applying the same curve to staked AXS as to each of the Axie Score pillars. Does it work? Yes, it clearly does. I mean, there's, I'll happily share that sheet of data. Basically, it would massively buff the value of AXS with regards to voting power and staking specifically. On the low end, you are literally getting a 10x over what you previously had. And on the high end, you're still getting 2x, right? That the highest like quote unquote real user is Jiho at like 1 million, just over 1 million, and Masamune at just over 1 million. I know there's a couple of other users who have a lot of AXS, but it's spread across a bunch of wallets. But anyway, that's beyond the point. It's very exploit resistant. That's exactly what, you know, the goal is. Enshrining the voting power calculation in the Constitution ensures security. I actually think this is kind of critical. If the community is up for it, doing this, I think would be a great security measure. I think it makes a lot of sense to not be able to change the weights of voting very easily. You know, it's one of those things. If you could just snap your fingers and be like, okay, now the entire world has to use first past the post voting systems, like that would do untold damage to the world. So why would we allow massive changes to the voting power calculation in our ecosystem? It doesn't make sense. And untethers the Axie Score. I think this is actually something that's greatly overlooked. Right now, the Axie Score committee can fairly fluidly make changes as they think it is quote unquote balanced. Right, like they made some changes for like when land those land changes happened. So they quote unquote nerfed land that didn't, you know, ultimately make a huge difference, but it happened. But they felt the need to make that change, and they could make that change. But if we put the Axie Score into the Constitution, that suddenly makes everything a whole lot harder. So yeah, that's more or less it. Thanks for listening to my yap. If you have any questions, you know where to find me on Discord at least. I do not do Twitter. Yeah. Thanks. Until next time.